All right, you guys, over these past 3 weeks, there's been so many different technical issues. However, I am back and I'm back with so many gems, different testimonies that I want to give you guys because there have been so many beautiful things over these past 3 weeks that I just have to share. And it all surrounds the way we think. If you do not know, my name is LaShawn Kinley, to where I am a women's small business and leadership coach. I also help women of the faith use biblical principles in their business, in their everyday life, like teaching them how to apply those things in their lives so they can be rooted and anchored in the foundation of what God has called us to be and where He's called us to thrive within. As I'm talking to all of these different types of women, I am noticing that there's a common thread that often gets hit at different points within a person's life. And that common thread is your thought life. It's how you protect your thoughts. It's how you even see and perceive your thoughts as something that's sacred, something that needs to be protected. If we don't understand that every thought is not our own, if we don't understand that we have thoughts that come from God, thoughts that are our own, and then thoughts that can come from the enemy, if we don't understand that and we don't perceive that correctly, we can think that every thought that we think is ours. And then we will then create a life, create a reality, say things, do things that goes with the obedience of that thought, meaning goes to the submission of that thought, meaning that we are in agreement with what we are thinking and we're going to live our life in according to that thought. And as a follower of Christ, and many of the individuals who are watching this video are also fellow followers of Christ, we know that in Romans 12:2, it says the renewal of your mind, right? It talks about the mind a lot in the Bible because the mind is the battlefield. That's why it's so sacred, because there's always all of these different thoughts happening. And we have to be the ones that steward the thoughts in our mind correctly, right? Manage the thoughts in our minds correctly so that we're actually implementing the right ones, right? That'll be of assistance not only to ourselves, but to our families, our loved ones, our friends, and everyone we engage with, right? Because our thoughts don't just affect us, right? Our thoughts become heart postures, meaning it becomes desires, it becomes wants, it becomes things that we want to see happen into our physical world. Those desires, that heart posture ends up becoming an action, right? Case in point, I didn't just start a business out of the blue. I thought about it first. I wanted to start a business. I wanted to be a slow fashion designer. I wanted to be, a women's coach. Like all of these things were ideas, right? Now, slow fashion was my idea. Those are things that I had a heart posture for. I had a desire for. I had I leaned more towards because it was something I was naturally good at and I wanted to put my talents and gifts to use. However, coaching was a God idea. I was never thinking about coaching before. And then all of a sudden, as I'm getting closer to God, He was like, I need you to start coaching women. I know that you're, designing for them and allowing their confidence to grow on the exterior in regards to how they look and how they present themselves now beautifully to everyone they encounter. But now I need you to work with them on the internal, on their voice, on the way that they project, on the way that they think of themselves, right? Like these are the things that I want you to start helping women on. Because He was telling me how I had these talents that I've been utilizing, but not utilizing it towards the way that He kind of wants me to with His daughters, right? With the women on this earth. And once He said that, I was like, okay, let's go. Let's do it. Because I'm not about to sit here and tussle with God. Like if He wants me to do something, it's a yes and amen. You know what I mean? So when I was thinking about sacred thoughts, those were the best examples I could give you in regards to like a thought that I knew was my own, right? A thought that just was me wanting to do something and I knew I was great at it and I had an infinity. I had a liking towards it. It was a desire of mine. This is how I knew, like, that was my thought. That was something that I naturally wanted to do. However, when it was a God thought, when He said coaching to me and I heard it clear as day, I was like, why am I hearing I need to be a coach in my mind? Why am I hearing that? Right. And then I leaned into that, right? I leaned into like, what does that mean? Because I knew that at that point I was on a path with God and we were communicating so deeply that I know I could recognize His voice. And this is also why it's important to know, the battlefield that happens in the mind. This is why it's important to know like how we are made as humans and how God called us to be, because then you can decipher when things are from Him and when things are from you and when things are from the enemy, right? And then you can put those things into action, or you can lay down the things to rest that are not supposed to ever happen, that are not supposed to continuously be a thought in your mind, right? Things that are unproductive and unhelpful for you and everyone around you, right? It's kind of just like we have to manage and steward our thoughts properly to know what to bring into fruition and what to cancel out and leave it alone. When we say our thoughts are sacred, we're literally saying like our thoughts have significant importance. And if we don't pay attention to certain things, we'll agree with things that we shouldn't be agreeing with, or we will not perceive the urgency of certain ideas, the urgency of certain thoughts that need to happen. We'll hold on them, we'll delay on them. We won't perceive things correctly if we don't understand how sacred our thoughts are. If you're a business owner and you're talking to a group of people in regards to them being your staff, and you see someone who looks like they're a little off, right? Usually they're talking, usually they're engaged, usually they're giving their thoughts and their ideas and suggestions, and this day they're a bit quiet, this day they're a little bit aloof, right? And you have a thought about talking to them about that, but then you never do it. You didn't perceive that that person might be going through something heavy. You didn't perceive that maybe they were thinking about quitting because they were feeling a certain way, or maybe someone on the team is actually bothering them, or maybe something's going on at home. Like, if you don't consider that thought that came to your mind to say, talk to this person about what's going on, or just ask them if they're okay. Like, if you don't tap into that, which is more so on the emotional intelligence side, but if you don't tap into that thought, you can miss key moments of connecting with your team. You can miss key moments of helping and assisting someone and healing them in an area where they may be hurting in, right? So our thoughts are huge factors in every component of our lives, from our personal lives, our family life, our career, leadership, all around the board. Our thoughts are constantly navigating the ways that we walk through life, the actions that we do, and the things that we say. Our minds are not this just like unintentional space of just random ideas floating around and we just, think on any random given moment. No, our thoughts are extremely sacred to where we understand that truth and deception can both live within our thought life, right? If we don't know how to manage the territory in our minds, which are our thoughts, we will give into certain thoughts that were never supposed to be ours to act on, right? So that's why we have to really understand how God created life to be, how he created us as humans to be, the authority he's given us, and how the mind works, right? It's an extremely fascinating thing. But for someone who thinks that every thought is their own, what about the negative thoughts that keep circulating in your mind? What about the sabotaging thoughts that keep circulating in your mind? We have over 6,000 thoughts a day. You think all of those thoughts are your own? More than half of them you don't even realize you're having, right? Most of that lives in the subconscious. So we have to recognize what thoughts are repeating patterns, right? Because those are the thoughts that are coming to the forefront. And then we have to realize, how are we acting on those thoughts? What thoughts are settling in our desires and wants, right? What thoughts are becoming actions of ours? And all those thoughts bringing confidence, bringing strong leadership? Are those thoughts bringing areas of success? Are those thoughts helping and healing others around us? Is the way that we speak nurturing to others? Is the way that we speak helping others elevate in their lives, helping others advance in their lives, teaching others, right? Is the way that we speak actually being beneficial to other people? Is the way that we think actually being beneficial to other people? Even in 2 Corinthians 10:5, it tells us to take control of your thoughts and cast down the thoughts that do not align with God's truth. God's word, that scripture literally tells us to take capture of every thought and make it obedient to Christ, meaning make it bow down to the highest authority. Because if it's not bowing down to the highest authority, if it's not in alignment, if it's not a thought of truth, productivity, advancement, right, alignment, holiness, help that's beneficial to yourself and others, if it's not a thought that are doing those things in that direction, that means it's going against the very will of you and everyone else around you. That means it's unproductive, it's negative, it's hindering, it's causing blockages, delay, struggle. You see what I mean? So it's important for us to realize how our thoughts is literally creating lifestyles, literally creating ways of thinking that's going to help or hinder our progress, our journey in life. That's going to create us to have actions that can actually create a beautiful, bountiful, fruitful life, or is going to create actions that are going to cause hindrance, that is going to cause burdens, and that's going to cause destruction and chaos. So it's important to see our thoughts as sacred because it creates a healthy thought life. It creates the way that we engage with others, how we perceive others, right? How we can connect with others, how we actually build and create things in this world that will not only help us and our family, but other people around us. And when we don't see our thoughts as sacred, then we'll believe in the sabotaging thoughts. We'll believe that we're not good enough. We'll believe that everyone is attacking us. We'll believe that we should be offended by people who try to come against us, when in actuality, who cares? Who cares? Just continue on the path that you're supposed to be on and continue to do the rightful, righteous thing and continue on within your excellence. All the noise will fade away. It eventually will just fade away. Don't give your energy to something that is not going to help you. right? It's important for us to consider what we focus on, what we think of, right? Because those create our actions. Think of King Solomon in the Bible, the most wealthiest man ever, right? And he asked God for wisdom, thoughts. He asked God for his wisdom. Give me the right ideas. Give me the right strategies. Give me the right thoughts. When you ask God for his wisdom, that's what you're asking for. You're asking him for the strategy, the direction, the way, right? Well, who is Jesus? The way, the truth, and the life. So you're asking him, what is the way that I can build this business? What is a way that I can build this department? What is the way that I can make sure that my staff is engaged with one another, that we have a fruitful and healthy environment for them, right? What is a way that I can connect with them as a leader? Like, we're always asking for strategies and thoughts and ideas that can create things in real time, that can create things in our reality that's helpful for everyone involved, right? This is how you start to understand that your thought life is super sacred, because it's creating your reality. You ever notice that there's certain people where you're like, they're just always happy. They're just always full of joy. They always have great ideas to share. Like, they're always very helpful. They're always very kind. Like, those are thoughts in that person's mind that says, I want to be good to others. I want to be helpful. I want to be kind. I want to live in excellence. I want to be the best that I do. I'm going to lead with confidence. God made me to be valuable. I walk with that excellence. Like, these are thoughts that those people think of when they think of themselves, when they think of how they engage with others. Now, let's put that on the flip side. Do you ever encounter people where they're just like, they're always nasty, or they always are gossiping about people, or they always are like wanting to see the negative in something, or they're always offended? Those are certain thoughts circulating in that person's mind that can extend from childhood, that can extend from people doing them wrong, right? And they just haven't gotten out of that trauma or know how to deal with that trauma. So those thoughts are constantly lingering. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not smart enough. You can't do this. You need to be quiet. Shrink yourself. Don't talk too much. Like, when you see people where they don't speak up, when they don't lead with confidence, when they're not doing those things, those are thoughts circulating in that person's mind, and they're now pouring through their actions. They're now showing up in the way that they're thinking. So you can always see how a person thinks of themselves, how a person thinks of other people, and the thoughts that are constantly in their mind, because it shows up through the things that they say, and it shows up through their actions. So this is why it's super important to take inventory over your thoughts. Take inventory of the ideas that are in your mind, so that you can see, do I have a healthy thought life? Or are there some things I need to check? There are certain thoughts that are not necessarily bad. However, it might not be the right thought to take into action right then and there, right? There's certain thoughts that need to be put on the back burner for a little bit, or there's certain thoughts that need to be deleted altogether, because it's not going to be helpful for anyone, including yourself. So I had to make this video about considering how sacred your thoughts are, considering the ways that you think, the ideas that you have, how that influences your creativity or how it hinders your creativity. And the ones that hinders your creativity, you have to think, why are those thoughts consistently happening? And how can I shut those things down so that I can increase the positive thoughts that are going to help me, that are going to help others, that are going to be productive, right? That are going to energize me, have me be more creative, have me be more strategic. Like, these are the things that we have to think of in order to not only help our thought life and our thought health and our mental health, but our physical health as well, because it's all cyclical. It all plays a part within every aspect of our lives. So I hope this video blessed you. And if you want to take a deeper dive into your sacred thoughts, how to have a more healthier thought life, head over to the community page on edifythesoul.com. We have a recent post in there that'll really give you some gems and some kind of like assignments for you to do to check your thought life, see how it's working for you or if it's working against you, and how to change the things that are blocking you, hindering you, or delaying you into becoming your greatest assets to move you forward. Let's talk a little bit as a community. In the comments, let me know, have you ever considered your thoughts to be sacred? Have you ever took inventory regarding, why do I keep having this continued thought? Why do these particular thoughts keep coming to the forefront? And are they working for me or are they working against me? I think it would be really good to know, like, how many people actually consider their thought life and how they use it within their personal or professional relationships. I look forward to talking to you guys in the next video.